big questions right now about tax dollars being used to fund the Tennessee Virtual Academy. The students who go there have scored below average on standardized tests the past 2 years, but that has not slowed the flow of millions of your tax dollars into this program. Fox 17's Michaela Lewis shows us why some people tonight are saying pumping all of those dollars into a failing program just doesn't make sense.
It's moments like these that single mother and musician Olivia West says she wants more of with her kids. Between her late night gigs and her 2 sons' Davidson County school schedules, she says it's tough.
I only get to see them for a couple hours, and I don't like that. I want to have a more hands-on experience.
To experience more time with her 2nd and 4th grader, she plans to enroll them into the Tennessee Virtual Academy next fall so she can take them out on the road.
Because they're going to work with mommy so they can go to beaches and the Smithsonian. And I feel like they'll have a richer education doing things like that with me instead of in an office type situation all day long.
K-12 Inc., founded in 1999, operates the Tennessee Virtual Academy, made available nearly 3 years ago through Union County. K-12 says in the state's first year, funding reached $7.5 million from the basic education program alone. The school receives about $7,000 per student, with about 3,000 enrolled currently. Educational material is delivered right to students' doorsteps, allowing them to complete their work over the computer. But the Department of Education's 2013 report card states TNVA students scored below average on the same standardized tests taken by traditional students.
They've had a complete failure here in Tennessee, and it's time to shut down the virtual school, which is a complete waste of money.
State lawmaker Mike Stewart backed legislation last year, giving the Education Commissioner power to close the school after 3 years of students failing to show sufficient growth.
As a creature of the current administration, you know, if it were just wasting millions of taxpayer dollars, it would be a bad program. What's sad, of course, is it also is wasting the education of a number of young people.
K-12 Southern Region Deputy Vice President Megan Henry says the group is working to improve test scores through data, administration support, and instruction with more mandatory live sessions.
Students who we are getting at these schools, many of them are coming because they are academically behind. It's going to take a little bit of time to get them back to grade level. This year in Tennessee, some targeted efforts, we will show growth. It is a new model of education. We need to allow for some time to let this work.
Time that some like West and her sons hope they get.
Because it's a great thing to spend time with my family.
Michaela Lewis, Fox 17 News.
Now, K-12 says enrollment is down this school year, so of course its funding proportionately will be reduced. According to the Adequate Yearly Progress Reports in 2011, nationwide K-12 met standards at just a little more than 27% of its schools. All public schools here in the U.S. met that standard during that same time at a rate of more than 50%.
Lawmakers often deal with lobbyists on Capitol Hill. Lobbyists try to sway votes in favor of the people who hire them. But what you might not know is that city leaders sometimes hire lobbyists, and when they do, you pay the bill. Every year, nearly 250 lobbyists are paid to influence policy on Tennessee's Capitol Hill. Joycelyn Blackman had no idea she's paying for some of them.
Seems like a waste.
Luke Newman, too, thought lobbyists just worked for big business.
It's different corporations and companies.
But taxpayer-funded lobbying, also known as intergovernmental lobbying, is gaining ground in Tennessee. Right now, the cities of Franklin and Brentwood just voted to jointly hire a lobbyist with taxpayer money and split the annual cost of $35,000. That's almost as much as what the average Tennessean makes in an entire year, a little more than $42,000. Their new lobbyist is Deborah Maggart, former state representative and Republican caucus chair.
They'll help us get our voice heard.
Eric Stuckey, Franklin City Administrator, says without someone on the Hill during the legislative session, his city misses too many potential bills.
It's a relatively small amount, but we think will help us make sure we're heard more effectively. And you look at the potential cost of one issue on impacting the community many, many times over what we might spend in a year or 2 or 3 in getting these kind of services.
But some say this area is already well represented by those elected to do so.
With our representatives that we have there already, why would you need to go outside to get somebody to get your point across?
Our legislatures are a great resource and they do a tremendous job, but they have a job to do. And it's not always that advocacy only for our city's needs, and they are one of a larger body.
According to Americans for Prosperity, taxpayers fund lobbying nationally to the tune of $1 trillion a year.
Why, from your perception, is this a waste of money?
It's a waste of money because in the end, there's no good thing that comes out of it.
Missouri policy analyst David Stokes studies taxpayer-funded lobbying and writes publications on the topic.
It's really a lose-lose situation for taxpayers because if it's successful, then government grows and government programs increase and taxes increase. And if it fails, well, it's just been a total waste of money. So really, in the end, there's no good way to come out of it.
Well, Stokes points out when state governments listen to taxpayer-funded lobbyists expressing the will of the city government, they only hear the will of government and not the will of people.